My name is Paweł, as I was introduced. I'm running a hedge fund, a tokenized hedge fund right now, and before that I was building planes at Boeing, so you were flying with my planes probably. And as the topic for today is how to invest into NFTs in a bear market. Probably we can cross out bear market and just ask how to invest into NFTs, because like as we've seen on the market, 90% or even 95% of the NFTs lost their value. So guys, what is your opinion about how to start to invest into NFTs? What is important when you are looking into that?
All right, so I'll give a little of my background. I think I'm the youngest person in this room. I'm 19 years old. I turned 20 in May. I decided to skip college. I just started coding or doing things at a young age, working in tech. Not super technical, but just low-level JavaScript, JSON, and then kind of worked my way up. Then got sniped by my new team right here. Is basically that's them. We have a venture studio and a sister fund that are in the middle of raising. So we have a venture capital fund that we're looking to hopefully deploy end of May and June. That is the sister fund, and then we have a venture studio venture studio accelerator. It's a combination of both. It's kind of the top of the funnel that we have going on, and I'm the chief product officer, not chief innovation officer. We applied a while ago, so we were at other companies. Now it's obviously different now. So yeah, that's a little bit of my background.
Hi everyone, my name is Glenn, one of the co-founders of the same studio. He basically gave a pretty good top-down explanation of what we're trying to do, but we have this sister fund which will basically invest in tech projects, global impact, sustainability, infrastructure, things of that nature, focused on follow-on funding and seed Series A. Our venture studio is focused more on early stage seed, pre-seed, and some small Series A investments. We focus on trying to find companies that we can really add value to. We've partnered with a couple other accelerators and funds that provide us with deal flow, one of which is Sam's UCLA accelerator. My background has always been in tech, applied physics, engineering, and defense, Boeing, as well, etc. Now we're working on this studio, and I'm really excited to get started. To answer Pavel's question, I completely agree about crossing out the bear. Well, I was gonna say, like, we might not need to address the bear market in the topic, but then I saw the audience, and I was like, oh. Maybe we are in a bear market. But
Yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah, I mean, I think that should be our focus for this discussion. So I'll let Drew introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Schroer. I'm a developer and mainly in NFTs and Solidity. I'm Chief Blockchain Officer at QB Studio. And what was the question again?
The question was, what do you look for when you are investing into NFTs? What are the important factors not to invest really and to have return? Or maybe it's not about investments, it's about something else.
So I look for a cult-like following. That seems to be the most bullish indicator of NFTs. I think community is the #1 asset that you want to look for. I think as we get more and more online, communities are going to be, your online community is going to be everything. So you just want to look for the strongest base there.
Thank you. Sam Borghese. So I'm a professor at UCLA. I taught the first blockchain course in the econ department. I teach cloud computing, applied machine learning, deep tech as well. Founded a crypto hedge fund a couple years ago. And now I've moved over to join this wonderful team at QB Studios as the CFO. I'm really excited about the tech that's going to be coming out of QB Studios. Really exciting and relevant to the NFTs as well. We recently just discovered a new tech, right? Tech is sort of discovered instead of created. We recently discovered a new tech that creates an NFT that will never go below the mint price.
That was all you.
So and as part of QB, that's what we're doing. So this is something I would say look for in the next coming months inside of all newly released NFT projects. It'll be a fixed floor token, right? It is an NFT. It's just an extra dynamic to an NFT that makes it so there's a fixed floor that can never go below. And this really changes the dynamics of how an investor interacts with an NFT project, right? Because all of a sudden the early adopters have a proposed limited loss that they could obtain. So it makes it a lot more achievable for people to invest without the fear of losing everything. So that's something I would say look for in the future. We could maybe talk on it more later, but pass it over to Paulo.
But I forgot to answer the question.
I wanted to ask you to.
I guess investing in however we want to call it, whatever market this is, bear market, whatever we want to call it. I think it's different for someone that is of my age, perhaps, because we have less capital than people that are, you know what I mean, that are of your guys' stature. So it's different for the average 19, 20-year-old, because if you want to get into a good project, the barrier for entry is so high. You know what I mean? All of my friends that chose the college route, that go to college, doing frats, you know what I mean, the whole 9 yards, like they can't invest into the space because they don't have $1,000 to get into a good project. So that's why I think the new mint meta, or the free mint meta, was pretty cool. That happened for a little, but I'm also with Drew on the sense of I think the barrier to entry is a little too high. I think it's gotten much better with the airdrop stuff and or not the airdrop stuff, the ability to essentially. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, I just lost my train of thought. I'm just gonna continue on a different point.
Yeah, but I also want to add to that. Like, I think because it's such an unregulated ecosystem right now, a lot of people just have an advantage when it comes to what people call insider trading when it comes to stocks and traditional markets. I would just try to be friends with as many people as possible, try to get as much alpha as possible, because at the end of the day, like early last year, I was helping on this project that actually took off called Art Gobblers. And the only reason that it really took off wasn't because of the celebrity behind it, Rick and Morty and all that stuff. It was because the team that made it was plugged with this NFT trifecta at the top. They knew everyone at Yuga Labs. They knew everyone at NanoPass. They knew everyone at Paradigm. And these are basically like the market makers. So if you can get in on that, or if you get into their alpha rooms, you kind of know what they're going to pump. That's kind of an unfortunate case. Like, you have to sort of earn your way in. A lot of people do that by becoming active in communities. They become community leaders, etc. But I would say like that is a almost surefire way to invest properly and have a strategic advantage.
Just to continue that conversation about alpha, Gabe, could you speak to how you were able to generate a lot of alpha NFT trading a couple years ago?
Oh yeah.
And is that still relevant?
Do you mean what do you mean? Do you mean about how like the markets actually work?
How you got into NFT trading, right? You were able to get into some blue chip NFTs very early, right? How were you able to get that alpha, that news early?
I guess finding that alpha is meeting the right people, being a nice guy, helping out, you know what I mean? Getting led into certain alpha groups. Like, I'm not even into the amount of alpha groups that are like, Drew's in over there. Drew's in like the Mac Daddy of the alpha groups, I'm going to be honest. But I think it's a matter of meeting the right people, knowing the right things, and it's like you got to put in the work. Like, no one's going to give you the alpha for free. So you got to either, you know what I mean, pull your weight or give them something, or it's not because when we refer to alpha, it's not like not exact things. Oh, when this airdrop is happening or when whatever's happening. It's more of like, does this founder have a team that's actually going to execute? Like, because do you actually believe in what's going to happen, or are they just trying to essentially recoup an investment that they thought that everyone was going to be a metaverse next year, Bitcoin million, and then it's kind of this, you know what I mean? And so I'm honestly with a lot of Drew's side of things, which is like, if you're going to invest, you have to have a cult follower. Like, the cult leader of that NFT group, he has to basically be a cult leader. Like, I think that's huge, because you're essentially creating your own cult. Sorry, people don't like that word, but like, that's what it is. You're creating your own community, however you want to call it, that does XYZ, owns XYZ, but yeah.
So we are speaking a lot about the speculative market on NFTs. I will touch this topic from a little bit different angle. So the important thing for me personally while investing is the utility. Like 97% of the NFTs don't have any kind of utility. There is nothing. So the only value of this NFT is basically speculation and trust of the people, as well as the person that is a leader, as you said. The person that leads the whole community, that have the power to empower them to use this somehow, or maybe to figure out other utilities. So from my perspective, important thing while investing in the bear market or in the bull market, it's not relevant, or buying NFTs, is something that will give those NFTs value in the longer run, something that will not just make pump of the price within the short period of time because the market is growing, because the prices are growing, or something like this, or this is a new blockchain, this is the first collection on the new blockchain, and like everything is going up because they are pumping the blockchain. But because there is a value that will sustain the price and the value that is given from this NFT in the longer run. So what do you think, guys, about this?
So honestly, I have an interesting thought on that. So when we're talking about investing in NFTs, yeah, that's cool. That's probably why we're all here. But I think the reason behind NFTs is, yeah, you have a way to invest in whatever you got, your JPEG and whatever. But like, for example, at the Venture Studio, we have a live shopping platform that's going to be launched relatively in the next month or two. I think Amazon and TikTok had a child essentially, and you're buying products. And so, like, for example, RFID chips and authentication of the goods that are going to be sold in the live shopping platform, like, you know what I mean? That's a utility of the NFT that has absolutely nothing to do with investing. You buy this product and you have the authentication. It has nothing to do with, you know what I mean, with investing. So I think stuff like that's honestly almost more fascinating, just because everyone's like, oh, I want to do this NFT project. I want to be the next Bored Ape. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the reason to buy these NFTs is not to sell this NFT.
Yeah.
It's to use and have a value underneath.
Exactly. And honestly, one of the interesting things that I've seen some of people we've done work with that are doing some of the NFC and RFID stuff is they'll have you can scan it, and then you can it'll just show up in your wallet. But then some people will be like, if you have a painting on the wall, they walk through your house, they can scan it and take it. But that's not how they're setting it up, basically. So, yeah, well, that is how they're setting it up, correct. But you can just scan it and steal it back. You know what I mean? So if someone walks in your house, scans it, steals it, walks out with it, you just scan it again, bam, it's back in your wallet. So as long as you have the real art piece, you have the authentication in the NFT version of it. So that's honestly where I think is like the most interesting avenue, rather, because I wouldn't say I'm getting sick of the whole Bored Ape thing, but it's like, I don't know, it's like there's a lot cooler things that can go on. Like my dad, who's sitting over there, works in insurance. Like there's some cool things like with filing death claims and like using oracles. So like that's pretty cool. But yeah.
Yeah, so when you're talking about investing, right, as an investor, you put money in and you're expecting to get something out. A lot of people use the term ROI. I like to use ROV, return on value, because when we're talking about utility, a lot of it is like gated memberships, the people you meet, etc. And when it comes to that, you can't really quantify the value, right? So our group here was consulting for a global restaurant group about 2 months ago, and they were launching this NFT, and we were just like, you probably shouldn't, but we'll support it anyways. And the reason why we supported it was because we knew they were a going concern as a business. They have 20 plus restaurants. Just a single location is top 20 in the United States by revenue. So I knew they weren't going to run out of money, and I knew I could get value out of the NFT because then I get priority to their restaurants, I get reservations, VIP rooms, and from there I can bring in investors, have meetings there, and it's like you're treated with priority, and that brings you a lot of value when it comes to how the theme of the vibe of the meeting goes, right? So you can't really quantify that value, but I would say return on value is really what I focus on, and the qualitative exchange of value, not necessarily the financial output.
I love this idea because you can't quantify in any way the network. Okay, guys?
I think the biggest thing to remember that the biggest use case for NFTs right now is proof of flex. So it's really just a wealth. It's like, why am I, it's not even a Rolex, but why do people wear Rolexes?
It's not even a Rolex.
Just to show their wealth. And NFTs are the best version of that. So I think that is what people don't want to admit. But if you think of it like that, then you can see which projects will do well.
Yeah, interesting question. I think this ties into NFT education too, because most people I talk to in the outside world, they go, I know what an NFT is. It's like art. But NFTs can do so much more. So there was this company I advised, Raise Finance, and what they did, they used NFTs for proof of investment. And they launched that consensus last year. They put up a QR code, and the 8 founding advisors were able to scan the QR code and do a direct investment into the company using crypto within 8 minutes. Right, so that's unbelievable. Usually investing in a company takes DocSend, paperwork, and so forth, and you have to store all those documents. This is on the blockchain, proof of investment, equity ownership. So this is another another way that NFT investing in the bear market could be useful. You don't have to buy an NFT JPEG of sorts for the bear market. You can buy gross revenue share in a company that is actually an NFT. And it can be any company, right? It could be Web2, it could be CPG, it doesn't matter. So that's something to look at too. The security token market is really booming, and specifically in a bear market, moving into maybe some more hard assets that are still NFTs.
Okay, so another thing are regulations. In Europe, we have like at least 3 regulations that are stepping in states as well. So what do you think? Are regulations going to help or are going to break the market for us? So what is your opinion about that? Because we have a lot of projects, we have a lot of ideas, a lot of gaming projects that are trying to use somehow NFTs. They're untaxed in most cases. And when the tax is going to be applied, when the regulations are going to be required, do you think that's going to help us maybe to remove some scams out of the equation, or maybe it's going to be a huge problem and it's going to kill the market?
I think there's one reason why I think regulation's a good thing. So I'll start off by saying that before I get into what I'm going to say. I think regulation's a good thing that's going to happen, because then like big money will finally flow into the ecosystem, like big money. But I honestly think that Can you re-say the question again really quick?
Are regulations good or bad?
I think it's a hard one, because it's like you want regulations, but it's like the real big money won't necessarily flow into the space until it happens, because they need to see the regulations. But there's really one reason why you know that they're going to regulate. It's taxes. You know what I mean?
Always.
So like there's no, they'll put this reason, that reason, this reason, whatever. It's no, they're going to regulate it. Want to know why they made weed legal? One reason, taxes. So they can make a crap ton of money off of it. So they think it's like, oh, we're being woke. No, they're making money off all that stuff. So because there's a massive charge. So obviously, I think it has a lot to do with the taxes aspect. But I think regulation's good, because then you'll get less scams perhaps. And then because one of the problems that I think is really hard in the space is the securities law is so freaking like broad. It's like 4 lines, and then you'll get an opinion from your lawyer, and then you'll get an opinion from 2 other ones, and sometimes they are all thinking differently, because they are all like, you know what I mean? They're perceiving the security laws differently in their brain,
and
because it's only like 4 to 6 lines. But I think it's a good thing. I just don't know. I hope we go in the right direction of regulation. But yeah.
At the end, those legal opinions are not relevant, because if someone will scam you, what you can do now.
Yeah, so I'm on the seat that says regulations are a good thing. I think right now there's a lot of uncertainty between the bipartisan groups, in the U.S., which is why we've seen developers in the U.S. for Solidity go down by 28% in the last year. I was on a team in my previous company that was really on the forefront of regulations. So we were on the board of governors for California. We were helping with the DMV, the U.S. Air Force, things of that nature. And something that they're trying to figure out is, how do we make money, like Gabe said, right? So when you cut out the middlemen, I mean, the DMV is like, oh, like, we like being slow because people pay for expedited stuff, but how do we make money? How do we make that extra $500? If you can guarantee that, then we'll switch and adopt your system. But then we're like, hey, that's basically ruling out the point of blockchain implementation to begin with. And I think that with the trend we have right now, there's less focus on blockchain as a whole from not just the people in general, but also from politicians. Everyone's focused on AI, all of that stuff. With every sort of hype cycle, which blockchain NFTs have seen, there's sort of a downtrend out of the novelty sector, a little bit of a gap, and then it rises back with proper strategic implementation. So I think we're in that sort of build mode right now. This last month, we just saw the highest number of active wallet addresses ever. And so although tokens may show like, oh, we're not at our peak, like developers, the number of developer libraries being accessed is higher than ever. So really excited for that.
I think the opposite. I think that regulation is just.
I think that's healthy.
I mean, it's always just to help the big players, and it always just stifles innovation. There's a saying that people came to the U.S. in the 2000s for the freedom to run their business. Now people are leaving the U.S. for the freedom to run their business. Because Gary Gensler's made clear, if you're doing a crypto or even some NFTs, that it's a security. So I'm curious to see, and it will lead to better use cases. But I don't have high hopes for it. I think we're all going to be using Jamie Dimon coin pretty soon with JP Morgan, and I think only the big players will have a say in it.
I see two potential futures. One of them utopian, one of them dystopian. That's my opinion, right? Which is which. But the same thing is happening in crypto too. So, right, crypto is a cryptographic digital currency, a decentralized digital currency. Then they have centralized digital currencies. The world is moving, unfortunately, towards some centralized digital currencies. We see with the digital yuan and so forth. It's over 90% of countries are doing some investigation into central bank digital currencies. So the same story potentially could happen with digital assets, right? You have decentralized digital assets, those that are owned and validated ownership on the blockchain, and there's centralized digital assets. So there is potential for regulation to come in and do the same thing they did with currencies with digital assets. So they say all of a sudden your, phygital Rolex NFT, oh, that can't be decentralized. That has to be, one centralized location that validates that and so forth. This leads to all the unfortunate things that happen with centralization, right? All of a sudden, you don't pay your taxes, they can go repossess your assets because it's not decentralized, right? So I see a path for regulation that could be very unfortunate for the whole digital asset space as a whole.
Okay, so you touched a really interesting topic. As part of our topic for today is also education, and as we've seen by the amount of people in here, only 0.5% of the population worldwide use crypto, and probably less is using NFTs. What is the future with the current solutions, where people need to be tech savvy enough to know what the private key is, and that the gas fee is not something that Putin is not selling to Europe or something? So how do you see the future of mass adoption and providing this to the people, like, for example, through Samsung phones which implemented wallets on the phone, and you don't need to know that? Do we still are going to speak about NFTs, or maybe just some kind of digital collectibles where people don't need to know what is underneath?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think I have a pretty good answer for that because I'm very product minded. I'm always getting my hands dirty in the products. So with a lot of the clients or whatever. So you have to have on and off ramps that are very simple, whether that means you're using like MoonPay, it's product service, or you build your own. But there's trade-offs with that, of course. You're giving up security or certain aspects to a MoonPay from your platform for a simple credit card on-ramp and off-ramp. Ultimately, that's like, I think, putting a Band-Aid on the problem, though. That's what I think, is making an off-ramp and an on-ramp, because it's like, cool, you just put a Band-Aid on the problem. I think there's new standards that are coming out that are like quite fascinating. Like one is like the 725 standard. Like that standard solves a lot of the things we're talking about, and that's a couple projects we're actually, I think, gonna implement that standard with Drew leading the dev way on that. But essentially is a smart contract based account. They're not key based accounts, so you're a smart contract. So you have the ability to interact, set up a transaction relay service on your app, which is like you can pay $5, $10, $20 a month. The user pays, and then all the gas fees are paid for by the user. So think about it kind of like early minutes back in the day. You can like generate multiple keys to get into your wallet, get into your assets. You can attach a link to your wallet. You can like do all sorts of things. So I don't think the future is what we have now. Like think of MetaMask and Coinbase Wallet as like the box computer, and then in 5 to 10 years. Which I wasn't even alive for the box computer, but that's what I think. We're headed in the right direction, but extreme innovation needs to happen.
Yeah,
We
no,
have
we're
1
coming
minute,
up.
20 seconds for each of
Yeah.
you.
So really quickly, I would say there's too much friction in terms of onboarding and people learning about using digital wallets. So I would say like the current wallet's sort of like the original phone, whereas when iPhone came out, there was composability. Like people were able to use the accelerometers to build things for like Uber, GPS, etc. And all of a sudden you have more products. And I think with ERC 4337, the new account abstraction coming out, multi-factor authentication, things of that nature, it's going to make people create much more powerful applications that people actually utilize.
Yeah, I think we need to get better protection on the on wallets and onboarding. I think the Trump NFT was a great example of this. People, in the Midwest were buying up Trump NFTs, didn't use crypto at all, didn't even know they were using crypto. I think the next thing is also just like have a everyone just a decentralized storage for their crypto and NFTs. I think if you were participating in crypto, with all the rugs, FTX, and then like moving from Binance, and then every day there's like a new like USDC FUD or something like that. So trying to explain to my task guy why I moved out of Binance, then to USDC, then to USDT, all just to not lose my money, is just not applicable for like an everyday person. So we need to get better safeguards with that. Yeah.
Yeah, when I taught master's level quantitative economics blockchain course at UCLA, I said, how many people have heard of a smart contract? And 20% of people raised their hand. I couldn't believe it. I said, how many people have not heard of a smart contract? 80% of the people raised their hand, right? And I bet if I asked how many people have heard of Dogecoin, the whole audience would have raised their hand, right? So I think really what's necessary for education to move forward inside of NFTs and otherwise is, sort of a pushing of these less sexy narratives to see how it can actually benefit people, right? Like remittances to other countries can occur with NFTs as well and so forth. But anyway,
We should have let him start with it. He's the professor.
Yeah. So keep the microphone because I would like to end with one statement from each one of you to leave the people with some thoughts after our conversation. So start.
All I'll say as I started off, look out for fixed floor tokens, this technology being implemented inside NFTs in the future. I'm telling you, it's the next generation of NFTs. It's like if NFTs are a line, this turns the tokenomics and sort of the dynamics behind NFTs into a plane, right? A whole nother dimension. So.
If you're serious about a career in crypto, you should be moving to Dubai.
Everyone always asks me after I speak, how do you know what you know? And I'm just like, dude, just all I do is read the newsletter that comes in my email every morning. So just do that.
Mine would be if you're building a Web3 product, make it look Web 2 and make it work like Web 2.
And mine would be if you are thinking about building something and you have some kind of idea in your head, probably 1,000 other people in the world have the same idea. So start now, bootstrap, don't be afraid. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure to be here with you today.
Drop the mic.
Thank you.